What is up, guys? It's your boy Alex, and welcome back to the Brave Lionheart channel. Welcome back, everyone, to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Corner, and we're back with another Yu-Gi-Oh! Related reaction video today. And once again, we're back to my good old buddy digigex, and this was something that he recently requested. Today, we're actually going to be taking a look at another one of his category cavalcade videos, and that one is on a certain archetype that I will be honest, I didn't really get much into when it was announced as much. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the archetype drytrons. For those of you that don't know much about drytrons, I didn't know much about them myself. I didn't really know much about, like, the archetype as well. And let's be honest, their mechanic is a little bit awkward when it comes to, you know, summoning and using different spells to get them out. But I recently discovered that yeah, the archetype kind of does work. Even though, to be fair, it's personally not one of my favorite archetypes. I think it's, like, something, it's something that, like, I can't really explain. It's just something, it's not, like, my favorite archetype as much. But but again, recently learned that it does work as an it does work with some of the mechanics. You just gotta, like, ease your way into the mechanic a little bit more. We'll just jump into the video and you'll see what I mean. Anyway, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump right into the review, or the, you know, category review. Let's just jump into the video. So, starting the video in 3, 2, 1, let's go. Alright. It feels so good to listen to this intro again. Or also at least see this intro again when it comes to, like, his videos. Love that old sound effect.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Category.
Alright, let's get to it.
Look into my third favorite archetype ever created, and my most favorite.
Sorry, I don't know why my mouse was doing that again. Alright.
Drytrons are a series of light attribute machine monsters that were introduced in the deck belt pack Genesis Impact.
Ah, okay.
Supported and added in the packs Lightning Overdrive, Burst of Destiny, and Duelist Nexus, along Inside Tins in the TCG. Also, this archetype
I think it's weird, but I did see one of the Drytrons. Okay, that's a little confusing. Because I remember from the manga, that character used MathMex, actually. Now that I think about it. Just real quick. He used MathMex in the manga. Then again, the manga was also about every character changing out their different archetypes and different decks that they used. So I guess he did use Drytrons at some point. It's really weird to think that that's one of the first few mangas that, like, where the story takes place in sort of our modern day time, where they don't call it Duel Monsters in the manga, they actually do call it the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG, which is, it got really confusing at first when I first, like, read the manga, but still, it was crazy, and it's a really good manga, it's a really good manga series, and some really great characters, too, and some really crazy stories. Weird moments that happened.
The material instead is based on an attack value. Also attributing other copies of the archetype or other ritual monsters from the field or hand. The spells will summon themselves from the hand or graveyard, as they cannot be
really weird to think that it's like level 1 monsters that you can't normal summon onto the field. But they're mostly just used to bring out those big bad boys.
Although there are 2 other Drytrons that are related to the Earth Arctics that have...
Oh yeah, I forgot there were certain cards that work with the Earth's Arctic monsters as well too. Really weird to think about it. Alright. Oh, sorry, I don't know why that happened. I keep hitting my mouse for some reason. Sorry about that.
You contribute 1 other Drytron monster, or 1...
I will say this, I do like the art designs for the cards. The art design for the cards is really, really good.
From your deck to your hand. You cannot special summon monsters, except monsters that cannot be normal / set the turn you activate this effect. You can only use this effect of Drytron Alpha Thawband once per turn.
Plus, there's also the fact that, like, you want to talk about, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards that have really weird random names? Just listen to some of these.
Having the same mode cannot be normal summoned and set. attributing one other Drytron monster or a ritual monster to special summon themselves from the hand or GY in defense position, and knocking you out from special summoning cards, except for cards.
But it also has that.
Cost, or
I think there's other cards along in this set that also give the effect of like special summoning it into defense mode or any other like, you know, Drytron monster.
Anyways, the whole ordeal with not just tributing another Drytron card, but also tributing another
I'm just trying to scooch back so that way you guys can see me better.
Alternate cost, since you might not know if you don't have other Drytrons in your hand, or wanting to get rid of a ritual monster you can no longer use on your field. And for this card, after special summoning it, fetching another ritual to your hand is a nice bonus. Drytron Beta Restament.
Oh yeah.
Tribute and special summoning, you can return one banished Drytron to the graveyard. Of all the Drytron monsters, this is the one that...
For some reason, like, when I look at the artwork for these cards, it made me think of, like, they're, like, kaiju creatures, but just in space. So think, like, Space Godzilla, but more, like, you know, human-made and made with technology.
Being too slow in some cases. Drytron Gamma Alternate. After the tributing and special summoning, you can...
Oh gosh, he a big boy. He a very, very big boy right now. The names, though, the names are very, very familiar. Now, I don't know if this is supposed to, like, if this was on Konami's end where they made the names, like, to reference, like, you know, the Magnet Warriors, you know, like Alpha, Beta, and Gamma. Or if they're just meant to, like, you know, be a representation of, like, you know, like... star signs, like, you know, the Alpha, Omega, Beta, Gamma, stuff like that. I think there was a Zeta name in there too. I could be wrong. I'm just thinking like they're probably doing it to reference the, you know, the Magnet Warriors basically. But it could also represent, and considering these are like space themed like cards, that also could be the thing that they're representing like star signs.
From your graveyard to either summoning a ritual or some other extra.
Sorry, I meant to like move my feet somewhere where it doesn't hit the thing. Oh yeah, there is a Delta one too. That just looks like a Pegasus, like a alien space Pegasus thing. It's still cool though. It's still cool artwork.
Albeit at the cost of revealing one ritual monster or a spell card from your hand. Drytron Zeta Altiba. After the trading and special summoning, you can add one ritual spell from
very weird pose this one is doing.
With this guy,
a very, very weird pose.
Spell card, which I find pretty handy if you want to use a backup when the main ritual spell of the archetype is already used, or you can't be able to retrieve it. Ultimate Night Alpha Versatron.
Yeah, he did mention this was recently added to the OCG as well.
This card is always treated as an Earth Arctic and Drytron card.
This, since it's only added to the OCG, it does really feel like a big time, like, boss monster in some weird way.
Then you can add one Earth Arctic or Drytron spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Ultimate Night Alpha.
I do like the sort of crystallized, like, translucent wings that it has.
Revealed alongside Earth's Arctic Polar Star. I do like
yeah, they did add, like, a new synchro, like, Earth's Arctic monster as well.
Reason so is that, in my opinion, despite sharing a few similarities with each other, I don't really see that these two being related to one another.
Drytron, here we go. Yeah, this is the whole gimmick behind the Drytrons. Yeah, I will say this. I'm glad this is an archetype that kind of brought back kind of a dying, like, summoning mechanic. Even though I think most people don't count ritual summoning as, like, a main, like, summoning mechanic when you have, like, Xyz, Fusion, Synchro, Pendulum, of course. But it's really sad that, like, rituals are kind of like a dying art form now when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! And it comes to summoning mechanics. I still think of it as a really cool summoning mechanic. Just mostly sacrificing two monsters of, like, either same level or, like, different attributes or different types to bring out a much stronger monster. Plus, the card color is actually really nice. it's a very different, like, card color that distinguishes itself from all the other, like, monsters and everything. Yeah. When it comes to the Drytrons, though, I will say I don't think I like the way that they're summoned, basically. I don't know. Like, I feel like they could have, like, done the summoning, like, for them a little bit different. How you can summon them to the field. The fact that, like, they're monsters that you can't really, normal summon. I mean, there's something I feel like that they could do better with that. Like, maybe, like, make them, like, you're allowed to summon one of them once per turn, but you can't summon out another, Drytron unless by its own effect or by another Drytron's effect, or at least by a spell card effect that, like, lists Drytron. I feel like they should have, like, had the mechanic be, like, you can only normal summon one Drytron once, but you cannot summon any other Drytron monsters out unless by their own effects. Something like that. I feel like that's something that could, work a lot better to the advantage of, like, the Drytrons. But that's just my own personal opinion.
Handy this ritual monster can be, and despite for the fact it's the boss monster of this archetype, I don't use this card a whole lot, and it's not really my favorite Drytron ritual monster.
Yeah.
Drytron Meteonis Quadrandus. You can ritual summon this card with Meteonis Drytron. Your opponent cannot target this card with spells.
Yeah, plus talk about power creep earlier in other Yu-Gi-Oh! Mechanics and archetypes. Drytrons, with their boss monsters, they can just easily blow up back row and easily blow up your like opponent's monster field very quickly. Oh yeah, talk about power creep.
Except a copy of itself, whose combined attack equals.
But even then, with like power creep like effects, when it comes to like certain boss monsters and other archetypes, it really does like have a detrimental effect sometimes. Not all the time, but still.
Face-up cards to the grave. But that is just me. One thing I should mention that even though you can use other monsters, machine to be more specific, I recommend using Drytrons and our other machine monsters that are level 2 or level 1 for their summons. So that way you can use this monster along with Draconis' effect.
If it works, it works, but still.
Protection from monster and our spells and traps, respectively, is really cool.
Oh yeah. I think I'm gonna be honest, I don't think, if I remember correctly, I think there was not that many, like, extra deck, like, options for the Drytrons. You think with, like, it being a new archetype, they would have, like, at least, I don't know, maybe, like, I think if I remember there's, like, 3 of them. I could be completely wrong. I mean, again, this archetype does mesh with the Earth's Arctic monsters, so it's a good mix-up with, like, a lot of their, like, extra deck monsters. But I'm pretty sure there was like 3. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. And there might just be, like, less than that. Like, maybe, like, there's not a lot of, like, extra deck monsters, and Digi's just, like, trolling people. But I don't know. I think there was, like, more. I think there's, like, a couple, like, extra deck monsters. Again, with the names. the names of some of these cards.
Require for the ritual summon. You can only use each of the following effects of Drytron Mu Beta Neon once per turn. If this card is summoned, you can send 1 Drytron card from your deck.
So more or less, it's not really much of a useful effect with an Xyz monster like this.
Machine Ritual Monster, quick effect. You can detach 1 material from this card. Negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card. As of now, this is sadly the only extra deck monster for this archetype. Besides that, I think this monster's effects are awesome.
Yeah, that's understandable.
You can use its Xyz materials for a ritual summon. It is pretty amusing.
Interesting.
Cards that will allow you to use the Xyz
not that much of a useful effect.
Synchro or heck,
okay.
Link summon.
So it kind of does work with some other, like, okay. I mean, again, it's probably not that useful, but still.
I like that its last effect being a negation effect. Albeit, it can only negate spells and trap cards, and it only works if you control a machine ritual monster.
Really? Just 1 extra deck monster? Okay, I was sure that there was, like, more than just 1. Wow, that really sucks. Like, there's just 1 extra deck monster. I think it's safe to say why people would run maybe, like, 3 copies of it in a Drytron-like deck, but Wow, that just sucks. You feel really bad for the people working on this archetype that like they could only do like one extra deck monster. That's just really, really sad. Oh my gosh, I feel so bad for them. Gosh, talk about like, you know, I was gonna say the phrase "less is more," but no, there can't be less is more for that. That's just sad. That is just really, really sad.
Drytron Meteonis. This card can be used to ritual summon any ritual monster from your hand or GY. You must also tribute machine monsters from your hand or field whose attack is equal to the attack of the ritual monster you
I mean, again, the artwork on these cards are fantastic. Some really, really, like, artistic artwork that goes on with these cards.
The end of the opponent's turn. And if it does, add this card to your hand. You can only use this effect on Meteonis Drytron once per turn. This is the ritual spell that would do the attack value deal. And to be honest, I do like that it went with that. Usually a ritual spell would require levels to summon a ritual monster, but with this one, say goodbye to the whole level requirement. And if you do have
Plus, I love the fact that, like, in the artwork for the card, it shows off, like, a lot of constellations in the background.
2000 could just be used for one Drytron monster anyway. And for the second effect,
plus I think it was already mentioned that, yeah, the names are supposed to represent the constellations, so not really star signs, so apologies there. I thought they represented, like, star signs.
Drytron Nova. Special summon one Drytron monster from your deck, but destroy it during the end phase. You can only activate one Drytron Nova per turn. You cannot special summon monsters, except monsters that can be summoned / set. The turn you activate.
So safe to say, not a very like useful spell card as much.
Or an extra Drytron monster.
I'm getting like really weird vibes that like this archetype was going to rival the Thunder Dragons.
For the final blow against your opponent. Drytron Asterism. During the main phase,
in some weird way, I don't know why I thought that.
Monster you control, if one face-up monster your opponent controls, your monster loses exactly 1,000 attack until the end of the opponent's
Can't even tell what's going on in this card. Is the creature like blocking it with his arm, with his wing?
I never use Asterism that much, but I do think it is cool that you can blow one monster your opponent controls with this card. Drytron Eclipse. Target one Drytron monster in your GY. Add it to your hand. During your main phase, except
and not really much going on with this card either. I have no idea.
Then target one Drytron
I think I gave the artwork too much praise.
You can only use each effect of Drytron Eclipse once per turn. Another card
my nose is burning.
Often, but I do like that you can build a retrieve a Drytron monster from your graveyard. And you can give one of your Drytron monsters a boost in attack. Possibly you can use that boosted monster for another ritual monster. Drytron Ifneon. When this card is activated,
then.
you can add one Drytron spell trap card from your deck to your
Not gonna lie, that does look badass though. That does look very, very badass. There's some pros and cons with the artwork for the Drytrons, but still, gotta have at least some like explanation of what's going on in the artwork.
A Drytron monster, except during the damage step, you can reduce that monster's level by 1 per 1,000 of its current attack, minimum level 1 for the rest of the turn. You can only activate one Drytron Ifneon per turn. I like all the effects of this field spell. Fetching another Drytron spell attract card upon activation. I
have a weird feel. I just have the feeling I feel like this field spell would work more towards the Xyz monster than just the Drytrons itself. I mean, with the name and all, but still.
Drytron Meteor Shower. When your opponent normal or special summons a monster...
Dang, that's some really, really good artwork.
Negate the summon.
Kind of reminds me of like those Drew Struzan posters he did for like Star Wars and stuff like that.
I love for this one that once your opponent summons their key boss monster, use this and they go like,
okay, so some useful and not so much useful spells and traps for it. Not that many for it either.
Now, you might be wondering, why do I like the Drytrons? Well, one of the reasons is that I like how this archetype puts a fun and unique twist of what I consider to be an old school mechanic, rather than just pulling some random shit out of nowhere. I always like.
So I'm seeing in like these like pre-recorded duels that like there's some other like ritual monsters. So it's safe to say that like the drytrons would work with more like ritual cards and stuff like that. I wonder if they actually would work well with like the Jin rituals.
Another reason is that the design.
Just saying, it probably would work as much.
Shows the constellation of Draco, and all the main deck monsters are named after stars.
Yeah, okay, so this is where it was said. This is what I meant. That like I heard from someone saying that like they represent like constellations and stuff like that. I mean that's still kind of an interesting concept for like, you know, a Yu-Gi-Oh archetype.
The drytrons are easier to recover, especially with their ability to be summoned from the graveyard. Granted, they're not quite so easy to recover if you use them randomly in other decks.
Nice.
But their effects do contribute well to the synergy of the archetype. If you are planning to make a deck out of this archetype like I did, here are some cards I recommend using. Chochu of the Trillion Hands.
Makes sense. If you want to add like ritual cards to your hand quickly, then that makes sense.
Honest.
Lava Golem. Okay, the Heralds definitely make more sense, but Lava Golem? I don't know.
Cyber Angels like Ben 10, I-10, and
okay. Just a lot. Just a lot.
Odd Eyes Gravity Dragon. Necros Attrition.
A lot of rituals. Understandable, Digi. Understandable. Oh my gosh.
Foolish Burial. Limiter.
Okay.
Jack in the Hand. Alter Entity Entis.
Okay, jeez. Well, there you have it, guys. That was my reaction to digigex's category cavalcade on drytrons. While I still don't think it's a great archetype, it's understandable why it is kind of fun to play with. I mean, if you're building it around to, like, you know, a ritual deck, maybe it makes more sense to use it that way. I don't know. I think just for me, I would say, like, the way to summon them out is kind of, like, iffy. I feel like they could have changed it, like, okay, let me try to explain my, like, theory of how that could work better. Let's just say that their mechanic was that you can only summon them out, like, once. Or, not once, but basically you can only normal summon a Drytron once per turn. You can't summon any other ones by normal means, like special summon, like tribute summoning. You can only special summon them out by their effect or effect of other cards that let you special summon out a monster from your hand or deck. Like, yeah, I feel like that could be a better mechanic. I could be wrong. That's just my theory. I feel like how that could make it a little bit better for the Drytrons. But hey, they still got some cool artwork and some cool looking boss monsters with some very power creep-ish like moves. Stuff like that. Anyway, with that being said, thank y'all for watching this video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell to never miss a video. And with that, I will see all you awesome guys and gals later. Bye-bye!